Hello and welcome to Bleacher Report's live stream of the Premier League Power Rankings as we prepare for honestly, like a jam-packed weekend in the Premier League.
Oh, dude, our power rankings are going to change after this weekend. Have you seen?
It's ridiculous.
Have you seen the fixtures for this weekend?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Jam-packed, man.
Four of the top five are facing each other.
Yeah.
And it's
And
ridiculous.
two rivalries happening at hand with Arsenal and Tottenham, I believe.
Yeah, the London,
And then,
and then Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so our job today is to rank where these teams are in terms of power rankings, meaning which team is the hottest, which team is most informed as of right now, because we've seen them play 6-7 games in the Premier League now.
Yeah,
And so
good handful.
Yeah, we're trying to establish where each of these teams stand right now, who's off to a hot start, who's looking good right now. And so we want to know, who are y'all's top 5 Premier League power rankings, not rankings, power rankings. Right outside that list for us personally is unfortunately Liverpool.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe, but I think when you actually look at what they're doing out on the pitch, they're outside of the top 5 in standings. But I think actually in their play, in their performances, man, I don't think they deserve to be in a top 5 power ranking list. Going to be completely honest. I remember in our last take about them talking about Champions League, they've just been really dull, man. They've been looking a little bit fatigued. Really, their only good results have been against low quality sides in the Premier League, against that 9-0 against Bournemouth, which really inflates their goals forced. And that's why we talk about power rankings, because when you look at the grand scope of play for Liverpool, man, something's off. They haven't been able to get Darwin Nunez, I don't think, fully integrated into Klopp's offense. And honestly, he had that red card that got him suspended for a little bit. That didn't help at all, man. Yeah, I know he's been really, really shaky. And the thing is, there's still so much time left. He can get into this offense. Ultimately, I think he will. But as of right now, man, Liverpool, in my opinion, are struggling.
Yeah. And I think there's a big play here with the absence of Sadio Mane also not being there offensively. Yeah. He just doesn't connect. There's no connection like how there used to be. And guys, we want to know, do you think Liverpool is in the top 5 power rankings? Because I do think at the end of the season, Liverpool will finish top 4. I still believe that. But I do think that right now, in this moment, they're just struggling a little bit. They're a little shaky.
Yeah, and I remember after some of these last recent games, dude, even the fullbacks were getting kind of criticized, right? Yeah. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, a lot of people using the word indifference. They just didn't look in those games. I don't know, maybe after this international break, they kind of got a refresher, to kind of just cleanse their minds or whatever they needed to do, man, because they need to get it locked in. Yeah. Right? As soon as this whistle blows come this weekend, Liverpool need to be locked in and get back to their winning ways, or it's just going to get worse.
Yeah. And so we'll have to keep an eye on them, because they could easily just go on a string of 10 straight wins.
Could. No, they definitely could.
And this could look completely different. And so they face off against, I believe, Brighton.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah. Brighton is our number 5 team in the power rankings. Yeah. Brighton was off to a wonderful start this season. Only 1 loss in their last 7 games in all competitions. But then they lose their mastermind coach, Graham Potter. They lose him, man. Yeah. And there's a lot of controversy amongst that hiring, because fellow Brighton fans wish that they could have seen what this season would have panned out to be with Graham Potter at the helm, man. He was doing so good for this squad, his 3rd year managing them, and it was looking great. He leaves to go to Chelsea. In comes Roberto De Zerbi, the Sassuolo and Shakhtar Donetsk coach.
Yes.
Do you think he can continue that ride? Can he continue that momentum? Because regardless of the coach leaving, the players are still the same. You got Alexis McAllister going nuts. Leandro Trossard playing incredible. Pascal Gross connecting well with that front 3.
Moises Caicedo finally coming into the fray and being a very, very good defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
So let's start with this, Zerbi, because I actually do think this could be a good appointment, honestly. What were Brighton all about under Graham Potter? It was about dynamic football. It was about kind of going against the grain, playing very offensive, electric style of play. And De Zerbi, especially at his time with Sassuolo and also Benevento, he was praised for his style of play. Didn't necessarily get the results that he wanted to in a lot of the play, but from the style that he pursued at those Italian clubs, people loved him. Low key sounds like an Italian Graham Potter. Low key. So this actually might end up being a very good substitute for what was an incredible coach in Graham Potter. Yeah. So I think from that perspective, Brighton haven't really missed the mark. Not yet. Obviously, there's still time to see. He's never coached in England. Obviously, Graham Potter had a little bit more experience coaching in the lower leagues, specifically like with Swansea, for example. But I think that Zerbi will ultimately be a good signing for Brighton in that coaching position. But as you just said, dude, they still have studs. Trossard on isolation. You have Alexis McAllister creating every chance that he can. And then honestly, they've been able to get good output from Danny Welbeck up top. So Potter had a great knack of making good players become great.
Yeah.
And so if those players can just take that mentality, sure, they don't have Potter to talk to every day, but if they can just take what they know and what they've learned from Potter, Brighton could still be a very, very good team, man.
They could be formidable, man. We've mentioned it before. It'd be amazing to see this team actually crack the top 6 at the end of the season. That'd be a wonderful achievement, man.
If they could do that,
incredible, man.
Yeah.
Right now, they have 13 points and they're sitting in 4th place, so they're off to a great start.
An incredible start, man.
And so I hope that they can keep it going, man, because you look at the stats, and honestly, there's some impressive things about this Brighton team. They have the best goals conceded per match average of 0.8. So we're talking about their offensive players, but defensively they are sound. They're so sound. And this test against Liverpool this weekend is going to be a big one to determine how does Brighton look long-term. Can they face off against a big, massive club like Liverpool, who's a little shaky right now, but still is capable of beating you down and giving you a 9-0 like they did Bournemouth?
Exactly. I think Brighton, if they want to crack that top 6, ultimately what they're going to have to do is separate themselves from the rest of the mid-tier teams. And how do you do that? Well, you beat teams like Liverpool, right? And the thing is, that's why I have them 5th place in my power rankings is, yes, they've gotten off to a good start. Yes, they're in 4th place in the standings, but they lost a game against Fulham, a team that's very similar to them. They've gotten off to a really good start in the Premier League, and they actually play very good offensive style of football, but they lost that game. But if Brighton want to ultimately crack that top 6 or vie for a top 4 position, they have to beat teams like Fulham. They have to beat a team like Liverpool. This is going to be a hell of a test, dude, because how do you separate yourselves from the rest of the Premier League and try to go up into that top 4? You got to beat a team like Liverpool this weekend.
I'm going to go to the chat right here to see what they're saying about the power rankings of the Premier League. Eczema says, Arsenal isn't first. It's power rankings, not table rankings.
And you'll see that maybe we agree.
We might all be on the same page here. Kirilu BR says United to clinch 4th spot. Arsenal/Tottenham maybe not remain consistent through the season. All right, well, perfect transition because I want to talk about that 4th spot in our power rankings where we differentiate a little bit.
We did.
And number 4, I have Manchester United.
Yeah?
I have Manchester United
for sure
in top 4 power ranking Premier League spot. I think they've done wonderful after Ten Hag came in. He had a weird start. Had people questioning his hiring, but then all of a sudden they go on a string of nonstop victories in the Premier League. And the only thing that is keeping me from putting them higher is that loss to Sociedad, that loss in Europe. That loss showed me still that this Manchester United team still has a little bit of that DNA from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It still has that DNA that still struggles in those big games and those big moments.
Right.
Yes, they've done great in the league, but I still think there's a stepping stone that they have to take in order to jump into that upper echelon. And when you have Man City, Arsenal, Tottenham playing incredible football week in, week out, I need to see a little bit more from Manchester United in Europe specifically. Losing a game at home against Real Sociedad don't look too good, man.
And it was in the middle of that rise, right? After they had won a couple of games, then they played Sociedad at Old Trafford. I can see that.
But I have to highlight them because they are worthy of getting credit because, I mean, so many people have been harping on Manchester United, especially when the season started. The Maguire memes were going all over the place, man. So we got to give credit where credit's due. Marcus Rashford is playing much better this season, much more effective. Jadon Sancho looks great. It looks poised, much more confident.
No, he does.
And then
he does.
You have superstar signing Anthony coming from Ajax and immediately making himself at home. Dude, I'm so excited to see this kid keep playing for the rest of the season because we've only seen just a little bit. Then came the international break. Now it's time to just focus on Anthony for the next 6 weeks at Manchester United heading into the World Cup.
Oh, he could go off. I mean, I see him starting pretty much every game. He already did making that debut, that crazy debut against Arsenal. So, that Anthony signing is insane. But another signing that they made, Casemiro, man, they made some, honestly, Manchester United made some hella good signings on that last day of the transfer window. So getting a player like Casemiro and Anthony just inserted into your team right at the end of the month, That's huge for Manchester United. And I think a big part why I think United, they might low-key be back.
No?
They might be back.
No. Yeah, they might. But you
I differed here.
Yeah, you differed here.
I differed here.
Who's your number 4 spot in that case?
So my number 4 spot is actually the team that United beat, Arsenal FC. And the reason why I have Arsenal in 4th. So right now I think Arsenal is 2nd in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I have them in 4th is, what was the buildup to this game for Arsenal? It was, can Arsenal stay consistent against a big top 6 club? We built it up. We wanted to see Mikel Arteta in a high-intensity situation. We wanted to see him go on the road to Old Trafford, go on the road to somewhere, to a big club, and perform. And what ended up happening, man? They got bopped. They got done in. They got done in by Manchester, dude. 3-1. And I remember last year, a huge narrative for Arsenal was they're a good team. They have a lot of talent, but can they keep consistent in these big matches? Let's even take out Big 6. In these matches where maybe they'd gotten a draw or 2 draws in a row and they were facing like a Brentford, for example. They needed a win. They could not get it last year. And I saw this as an opportunity to undo those curses of last season. As an opportunity of Arsenal were unbeaten going into this game against Manchester United. And they had a perfect opportunity to completely throw those curses away by beating Manchester on the road. Think of the statement that would have made, man. Think of for me, Arsenal would have been top of the power rankings if they had won that game. Mm-hmm. But that loss kind of steps me a bit back, man. It docks a lot of points for me on my personal level.
You're being harsh.
On my personal level, it docks a lot of points for me because that was the game that I needed to see Arsenal win. That was the game that I needed Arsenal show a little bit of character. And ultimately, they failed, man. They failed this big test. Now, I will say this. If you take away this game, on the eye test, Arsenal probably playing top 2 football in the league. Arsenal have been incredible this year. We're seeing the renaissance of Gabriel Jesus, man. Because not only is he a good striker, and we've always known that, but we're finally seeing the technical side. Yes. And the reason why probably Pep bought Jesus in the first place, man. But we never really got to see it at Manchester City. Jesus is going off this year, man. Off. Not only is he finishing, but he has 3 assists. Yep. He's leading his team in assists. And 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 goal involvements. So Gabriel Jesus not only is scoring, but he's getting his touches in. He's getting his creativity influence out on this Arsenal's offense, man. So from that perspective, Arsenal are playing incredible football, but that loss did a lot for me.
You're being harsh,
it did a lot for me,
harsh, man.
Because now I'm a little scared.
It's the only loss in their past 6 games.
And what happens if they lose against Tottenham? This is another big test.
This is a
huge test.
This test is going to define the debate between you and me.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Because I think you're being a little bit harsh.
And maybe I am.
One loss in the last 8 games. I want to correct.
Yeah.
And all the other games they haven't even tied, bro.
Oh, I know.
They've only won.
I know.
They've only won. So I give them a pass for one game where they're up at Old Trafford facing off against a hot Manchester United. I'm fine with that. They're still top of the Premier League table right now. They deserve a little bit more credit. So
absolutely.
To put them in 4th, I want to know, chat. Do you agree with Soltero's take on putting Arsenal in 4th in the power rankings in terms of who's hottest right now? At SM7 says number 1 he has City, number 2 he has Liverpool, number 3 he has Tottenham, number 4 he has Arsenal. Stopped at 4, all that qualify for champions.
Okay,
but I have United/Newcastle fighting for 5 and 6. Chelsea signed a lot of players that simply don't belong in English Premier League.
That's a hell of a take because he might be right.
He might be honest.
Chelsea have done so poorly in the transfer window, man. So poorly.
Yeah. Authy says BR Bleacher Report needs to bring back the World Football Power Rankings they used to do. Fun,
okay,
I would love to dive
World football,
where these teams compare
with everybody.
La Liga's best, PSG, Bundesliga's best, Italy. That'd be kind of
fun,
man.
That'd be fun,
That'd be fun.
Let's have a show about that. That'd be dope.
But we're moving on to number 3. Number 3, here we go. 5 was Brighton for me. 4 was Manchester United. For you was Arsenal. At number 3, I have Tottenham.
And as do I.
Hey,
I have Tottenham as well.
Compromise here, man. And honestly, I would have them higher if it wasn't for that loss they had against Sporting CP in the Champions League, where they got bamboozled at the end. They stayed in it 0-0, and then at the very end, Sporting CP came in and they took advantage of those Tottenham players.
They stole 3 points.
They stole 3 points. They stole 3 points. But regardless, 1 loss in the last 9 games. 17 points in third place.
Yeah.
And they face off against Arsenal this weekend. I mean, we got to talk about that match, man. We got to talk about it because this is a derby. This is a rivalry.
This is it for me. This will determine if I really think Tottenham can actually contend for the title.
Mm-hmm.
They win this game, then I think Tottenham are actually real.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I actually have Tottenham in third place, man, is because they are unbeaten. So I have to put them above both Arsenal and Brighton, right? They are unbeaten. But the reason why I don't have them any higher is because arguably they've had the easiest Premier League schedule out of the top five. The easiest schedule, bro. They've had games against Leicester, Wolves, Southampton, West Ham, and they drew that West Ham game. All these teams are, bottom 5, bottom 6 of the Premier League. And they haven't faced any big team. I think their only trickiest game, right? The Chelsea match. That was their only trickiest game, but Chelsea have been, in my opinion, not good this season, man, at least in the Premier League. So for me, they really haven't been fully tested, and they will finally get their first real test of the season this weekend against Arsenal. Yeah.
What I do like about Tottenham this season is the way that Harry Kane has started. Already has 6 goals.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Kane has gone off.
He can sometimes start a little slow. This time he just came off hot, man.
Yeah.
But also the play from the midfield this season. It's a progression from last season. You have Højbjerg playing very well. Bentancur he's going through a little bit of a rise himself, man. The Uruguayan is playing really well, finding himself now at this Tottenham side and feeding those options up front, but also playing very good defense, man. Yeah. And so we've talked about it before. For Tottenham, it's not a question of their attacking options, but that midfield, man.
Yes.
Can that midfield mold themselves to be a top 3, top 4 midfield in the Premier League? With the way that these two players are playing right now, I think that they're managing to stay in it. And if they can continue rising, that might be exactly what Tottenham needs to contend potentially, because their defense is looking great too, man.
No, their defense is looking fantastic. Yeah. But I think 2 signings for Tottenham have been incredible. And you could argue that maybe Tottenham made some of the best signings as far as efficiency is concerned over the course of this summer transfer window. Richarlison, he's starting to really ramp up, man. He's starting to really get going, and I think Conte sees it too by starting him in these last couple of games. But not only that, probably the most underrated signing of the summer, dude, Ivan Perisic. Finally starting to get into this lineup, and I think Conte sees it. He's like, I got to start Perisic. He just has to. Perisic is one of those guys where you can just trust him in any situation, playing in that wing-back position. He can cut back and defend if he needs to, but Perisic is low-key very good offensively. He's just smart. Yeah. He's just smarter than everybody else, but he still couples it with good technique and athleticism. And yeah, he's a little bit old, but I think that only helps him. He's like a wise winger out on that pitch for Tottenham, and it's only helping Conte's side. Just adding in a player like Perisic just like that, man, it's huge. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, and the impact of Kulusevski as well.
Oh, that's
feeding his teammates, man.
Yeah.
Let's look at the chat. Chop Elliott. Finally, someone respecting Spurs. Damn, man. He's been praying for someone to respect Spurs.
Man, they've been really good this season.
Dylan Karif says Spurs above Arsenal right now is crazy. And I got to say, I agree, man. You're telling me that you value the Sporting CP loss less than you value the Old Trafford loss?
Yeah.
For Arsenal?
Because for me, it was about narrative for Arsenal. I'm really taking into account what Arsenal are trying to undo this season. For Tottenham, they haven't really misstepped other than that draw against West Ham. So for me, that misstep against Manchester United was so big. And the fact that Tottenham have remained unbeaten, I have to put them higher than Arsenal.
Okay, so you're not looking that much at the results in Europe then?
No, I'm not. Okay. But like I said, arguably, and I would say Arsenal probably playing better football, but that result against Manchester United, I think, was really damning for me from my perspective. Okay. And so for that reason, I put Tottenham above Arsenal.
Okay. Mark Gendler says the composure Spurs showed away at Chelsea to get the draw was a huge difference from last year's team. And I completely agree, man. To get that last game tying Harry Kane goal, I saw that ball go in. I was like, okay, this is new. Dude, Tottenham loses that game. They would lose that game in the past 3 years.
Absolutely.
Man. To get a draw, given how hyped up that crowd was at the time when Tuchel was leading the team, man, I was very proud of Tottenham that game. So that was a good test in my opinion. Last chat comment is RLM. Tottenham is a class team. They look amazing, and it's all because of their class manager. Conte, man. The Conte effect.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 2. we mentioned that at number 4 we have different opinions, and right here is where we differentiate as well. But it's because it's flipped.
It is flipped.
It's flipped.
Yeah.
It's flipped.
Yeah, it is flipped.
For me at number 2, I have Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Arsenal 1 loss in the last 8 games, not a single tie, 18 points, first place. They played Tottenham this weekend. They got Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus, Bukayo Saka playing incredible football. Arsenal football has arrived, man.
Oh, they have.
And in my opinion, it's taken Man City's incredible rise to stop them from being number 1 in this power ranking. So for me, Arsenal is second, and justifiably so, if that even is a word. I don't know if that's a word, but rightly so, because they've come off hot, man. Hot, just winning all these games, scoring beautiful goals, playing fluid, effective, and creative offense.
Right.
Gabriel Jesus playing out of his mind.
Oh, out of his mind, dude.
I love how this team is playing, how they're composed, and how they're just putting shows week in, week out in the Premier League. And so for me, they're number 2. And I look over to you, and I look in the hopes of compromise. I look in the hope that maybe you can switch your opinion up.
No, I'm kidding. So I have Manchester United.
Okay.
And I have it for one sole reason. They have won 4 straight. 4 straight. And I rate that very, very highly in any league. In any league that dubs themselves as a competitive league. If you win more than 3 games in a row, not just remain unbeaten, I think you're very hot. For me, right now, in the Premier League, Manchester United are the hottest team. And it's funny because I argued that the only team that could beat Manchester United could possibly be Manchester City. And who are they facing this weekend? Yeah. Manchester City.
Weekend of answers, man.
It really is. If Manchester United had played any other team this weekend, I think they would have won. I really do. But now they go to the Etihad this weekend, and this is going to be the decider for me. You said the weekend of answers, and absolutely. If United lose this game, man, I put them, 4th, 5th in my power rankings. It really is like that, though. It really is like that. But for the fact that they've just gone on a hot run, for me, they are the hottest team in the Premier League statistically. So I cannot ignore that. I can't. And as I kind of mentioned before, the inclusions of Casemiro and Anthony have been huge. But not only that, Ten Hag has been able to kind of transform this team after those 2 embarrassing losses, man. Those 2 embarrassing losses to start the season. He made big decisions. He took off Maguire, and he said, Martinez and Varane are going to be my starting center backs. And that proved dividends. Yeah. So a fruitful decision for Ten Hag. But other surprises, man. Malacia at left back, dude, he's completely benched Luke Shaw. Man. A revelation, man. And another great decision, and we're not even done yet. The inclusion to put Eriksen as that pairing central midfielder alongside whether it's Fred or McTominay and right behind Bruno Fernandes, huge. Monumental. And what it's going to do for this Manchester United team, it's going to set them up for success. I said that they literally could have beaten any other team if it wasn't Manchester City this weekend. It's unfortunate for them, but man, if they can do something against City,
chill, man.
We'll see.
Chill.
We'll see though.
Yeah,
because they easily could lose 2-3-0.
Yep.
It could be like that. But we will find out this weekend. But right now, I have Manchester United as the hottest team in the Premier League. So for that reason, I put them as 2.
Okay. Chat, what do y'all think? Underdog says, don't worry, Arsenal will put that weak narrative to bed Saturday.
Man.
Get a dub against Tottenham. That'd be a statement.
I want that to happen. I want Arsenal to be successful this year.
J. Cliff Dill says, Arsenal didn't even look that bad against Man U at Old Trafford. Arguably, Arsenal played better for the majority of the game.
Okay, and in that case,
you got a point.
In that case, that actually is a great point.
Keep the comments coming.
But that's the same excuse they used every time they lost last year. Every time it was, we played better than Brentford. It's like, we played better than Newcastle, but they didn't win. You have to win these games. I don't care if you play better, you have to get the result. And so that's why I've docked them.
Colben Ellis 98 says Spurs look better than Arsenal, United, and City. God damn. All right.
Spurs are pretty solid.
Yeah, Spurs number 1. Yeah. Okay, so now we established our number 2 teams. We've previewed the buildup for the games this weekend. Mm-hmm. But now we got to talk about number 1.
Yeah, let's.
At the end of the day, who is at the top of our list, who has been the best team this season so far? I think it's no question, man. Yeah. It's got to be Manchester City.
There's no question.
Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, led by the incredible rise of the Wonder Boy, the superstar sensation, Erling Haaland. taking the Premier League by storm and somehow finding a way to do better than what most people thought he was going to do, man.
Yeah, no.
It's incredible.
Incredible. And it's why I have City at the top, man. I think maybe because solely Erling Haaland, man. The impact that he's had for Manchester City, he's able to go 30 minutes without touching the ball. And in that 31st minute, his next touch could lead to a goal. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could actually describe any other striker in the world with that type of impact right now. Yet Manchester City have that in Erling Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it game in, game out. Even if it's a little tight, who comes to the rescue? We've seen it in Champions League against Dortmund.
Yep.
We've seen it in the Premier League. Who comes to the rescue? It's Erling Haaland. But let's not forget who's feeding him. Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez. De Bruyne has not missed a beat since last season, man. Yeah. Honestly, I thought there'd be a little bit of fatigue with like De Bruyne specifically because he was a little injury prone last season. But no. De Bruyne just knows how to touch that ball. He knows how to touch it just right.
He knows how to feed his boy, man.
He knows how to feed his boy, man. Yeah. And so it's just perfect football. That back line for me really hasn't taken a hit. And then you still have Rodri and Gundogan kind of just surveying that central midfield. It worked last season. There is no reason to think why it should not work this season.
10 straight unbeaten in all competitions since the Community Shield. That's the only loss they technically have. But for me, man, it's the gameplay of Kevin De Bruyne, the way he's transforming the game week in, week out, just making incredible passes. But not just that. City has answered the questions that have been asked of them. And we've seen it twice now in the Premier League specifically with how they were down at Newcastle. Now Newcastle, 3-1.
Yes.
Newcastle playing the game of the season. The crowd is hyped. Saint-Maximin is putting an incredible performance.
He put in his best performance of his career, possibly.
The team is looking incredible. And somehow Manchester City find a way to crawl back into the game and actually have a chance to win it at one point. Because once it was tight, I was like, good Lord, they could win this game if they want.
Exactly.
Same thing with Crystal Palace as well. Crystal Palace goes up 2-0 at the Etihad. And by the end of the second half, Erling Braut Haaland has a freaking hat trick, and the game's done, man.
It's done, man. It was always going to be done.
Yeah, if there's any questions left, it's just to see how they perform against a top 4 side.
Yeah.
But up till what we've seen so far, man, it's Manchester City's to lose right now, man. Absolutely. It's their title to lose. They are so informed. They're so in shape, and the hottest team in the Premier League for me, personally.
I completely agree. Yeah. And just to reiterate that point, it took Newcastle's greatest performance that they could muster only to barely draw.
Yeah.
That tells you everything. Manchester City are unbeatable right now, and I cannot wait for this Manchester derby. Yeah. I cannot wait because it's going to be so telling on any side. We could see Haaland get another hat trick somehow, or we could see Manchester United fully rise to what they've been trying to achieve for these last low-key 10 years. Yeah. This is going to be a hell of a game.
It's the most excited I've been for that specific matchup in a while.
Man.
Man United's been struggling.
Yes.
And now we have two teams that are just in form going up against each other. Chat, sad Jets fan. Hey, New York Jets. Arsenal are the August Invincibles. Same story every year. So they tend to start off hot, is what he's saying?
Yeah. And that's why I docked them so much, man. They needed to win that game, and they didn't.
Gunnar Kelly says, Haaland has been the best so far. Dude will score 40. Bro, I could see it.
I could see
we were talking about it. What if he actually got to 37, 38?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
I can. That's the thing is I can, and I shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
But with Haaland, anything's possible.
Anything's possible, man. It's ridiculous. Question for the chat. I want to hear what y'all think about this. Do you think Manchester City, if they actually set their minds to it, do you think they'd be capable of going invincible this season? Do you think if they actually wanted to?
Yeah.
Because they might end up losing that game or two, and it might be because of who they start, but if they hypothetically were to go at this Premier League with that challenge in mind, do you think they could actually do it? The Arsenal fans are about to go nuts in the chat. From Jovenal says, having more possession doesn't mean you're the better team. Arsenal played into Ten Hag's game plan. That's why United should be number 2 in Reynoso's rankings. City absolutely number 1 in power rankings, but haven't played any relevant teams yet.
Right. And
fair take.
It's a fair take.
Fair take. Yeah, the argument that Arsenal played better in that match is countered by the fact that United almost wanted them to have more possession. Yeah. They wanted them to feel like they had the impetus on the game. Yeah. But Man United's counterattacking has been incredible, man. They did the same thing to Liverpool. They made Liverpool have the ball the whole game, and then 2-3 counterattacking possessions, and they're up 2-1.
Boom, it's
incredible, man. And so I do see that argument. I do, but I think I'm just buying into Arsenal a little bit more than what other people are. So fair enough. That's our top 5 power rankings, folks. Thank you guys for being active in the chat. Jose2 says, bro, where's Chelsea at?
No, they're not even close to here, man. Come on, man.
They've started weird this season, man.
Too weird to be
hopefully in
top
a
5.
few weeks they can be in that top 5. But
hey, they got Graham Potter now.
They do.
They have Graham Potter.
They do. So thank you guys for joining us for the Bleacher Report live stream of the Premier League Power Rankings. We got some banger matches this weekend. I can't wait, man. It's going to be so exciting.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
We are the Give and Go Boys. Find us on all our social media realms at The Give and Go on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere.
Yeah.
Where you can find us talking football all day long. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.